Strange things are afoot at the Circle K.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the channel. If this is the first time you've visited the channel, hello. My name's Gareth and this is Book Songs and Other Magic. And this is a monthly roundup. So this is a monthly roundup of August. Wow, August has finished already. Seems to fly by. August is my favourite month of the year. And really, because I'm a teacher, so clearly August is going to be my favourite month of the year. So it's all going to get a bit hectic and crazy. And why am I doing this job in a couple of weeks? But before then, I've got 2 weeks of enrolment, inset days, training, all sorts of nonsense before the teaching starts proper. Anyway, regardless of that, this is where I talk about the videos I've made over the month, in case it nudges you to think, oh, that sounds interesting, or you don't want to just comment about it in the comments. And I talk about my reading, and I read tons last month, and I don't know if I'll finish with what I'm going to read, I don't know, but I might say something about the stuff coming up on the channel, because I think this is kind of for me, kind of an interesting part of my period on BookTube so far, because I'm doing quite a varied amount of things on it, and one of the big things I'm doing is the big unhaul that leads to my library tour kind of stuff. So I'm very excited to share all that with you, and I've made some videos already that you'll be seeing in October, late September or October. The unhauls are still carrying through September, but at some point in September it turns into a London library tour. But anyway, let's talk about the videos I made quickly first. So I started off the month with a 58 book TBR for Garbaugust. Clearly I wasn't going to read 58 books, but it was like all these different things I'd accumulated for Garbaugust. Clearly I shouldn't really keep all of these books, so even though the event's finished, I'll keep some things for next year, but I'm just going to get rid of some things that are just going to clog up space that I bought for the event I didn't get to. But I did do this video where I literally went through everything that I could possibly read that I had at hand for the event. So if you don't know what Garbaugust is, then I did a few videos about Garbaugust through the month. Loads and loads of booktubers were taking part. It's invented by Criminoli, who thought it was just a great idea to celebrate trash fiction. And his definition of trash fiction is what we're sticking with. And I think it's brilliant that we have defined categories for it, because otherwise people would just be listing stuff they don't like, and that's not what the point. It's all about the idea that publishers would publish things for commercial reasons, basically. So yeah, that's kind of what we were celebrating, and the fact that some of those books can be fun. So we'll touch on that as we go through the books I've read. But yeah, 58 book TBR, which is ridiculous, and clearly I didn't read anywhere near as many. I did read a lot of books for me this month, but not that many. So that was the first thing. Then I was really pleased to finally do my second video on the Ray Bradbury deep dive. So I did one that was an introduction, which I went through my collection. And then this was 2 books. The first 2 books that I was reading, I'm reading them in order. So that was Memory of Murder and Killer Come Back to Me, which are early kind of crime mystery kind of stories. So it's very different for Ray Bradbury, and it was great doing that video. I really enjoyed doing the video, and I was so glad to actually do it. So the next one for that is going to be coming up soon. So yeah, the Ray Bradbury deep dive is all go. So that was done. Then look at me notes. I did the first of the great unhaul videos. So there's a few of the unhaul videos. So I literally looked at all of my books, and I've got rid of about 300 over the last few weeks. And I'm really pleased with how much I got rid of them all. I just got everything out of the loft, and I tried to be as brutal as I could. And there were some things that I would have read in time, but I thought, when I get to that point, I'll get it again, sort of thing. So I tried to be as harsh as I could. So yeah, the great unhaul videos are on my channel, and if you're interested in watching those, you're going to be seeing there's a kind of a library tour element to it, because I'm showing up things I'm keeping as well. So I was literally making a decision through the videos. So that was the first one, and then a couple of others have appeared as well. I think it was on the 4th one, maybe the 5th one by the time this goes out. Then I did a video that was bouncing off Criminoli's video on storytelling and how he thought the most respected style of storytelling or medium for storytelling was novels and talking about the lack of respect for games, films, TV, that kind of thing, sort of more visual side of storytelling. And I wanted to do a video on how you can get so much great storytelling in songs. So I did that. So if that sounds interesting and you haven't seen it yet, songs, storytelling songs, so narrative songs, that kind of thing, I sort of covered that. And I feel quite passionately about that, so you can probably tell that from the video. And yeah, I've enjoyed the comments and replies on that one as well. So I did that one. Then I did a what makes a classic video. So that was a tag that was created by Mark from Book Time with Elvis, and my response to that was possibly a little bit left of centre, because it was, as I mentioned, Watchmen, which clearly it is a classic, but it's not, I don't think it's seen as a literary classic. Yeah, so, you know, that was enjoyable as well. I enjoyed doing that. I did a video shortly after that saying that I'd created a new playlist for what I considered the best videos on the channel. So I thought that was kind of an interesting idea, because it may draw people's attention to some of the things that I thought I really wanted to cover, or that they may have. I've included some of the videos I've done where I've tried to say enjoy life or relax or be happy, those kind of videos. So there's a playlist for that. So I did a little video talking about the playlist. I did a review of one of the first book I'm going to talk about. So I did a review of Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. So I'll show you that in a second. So I had to do that review very quickly, because I absolutely loved that book. Then I did a video on theatre, so my experience with theatre, my enjoyment of theatre, why I love theatre, and sort of some of the highlights. So I think I picked five highlights of my experience of going to the theatre. So that was a quite nice thing to do, a bit unusual, and there's lots of people that seemed to respond to that well, so that was nice. Then I did my video on the big booktuber meetup, which happened in August, and that was wonderful, and it was really nice talking about it. And lots of photos that I kind of incorporated into the video, and I've loved seeing the other people that were there doing their videos as well. It's been a lovely thing. It's still, I think, for a number of us, I think it's still in our heads. It was still such a lovely thing, and you know, we've genuinely made friends, which is really cool. So the booktuber meetup video went up. Then I did a video which was kind of prompted by my new bookmark, which I should have put in my hand, but I haven't. But I have got a new bookmark that is like, you know, relating to my writing. So if you want one of those, then please let me know. And so I did that. I did a video about that and talked about a few other things on the channel and that sort of stuff. So it was like a catch-up video. Then I did a video where I talked about 10 recommendations for, or was it 10? No, it wasn't 10, probably like 15 or something. It was a bunch of recommendations for books on British history. So recommendations that kind of bounce off of my degree a little bit, but just things that I liked in the whole billions of books out there about British history. So if you're into history books, then you might enjoy that one. I did a video after that, which was called Sci-Fi September, where I said I need to go back to reading science fiction after reading garbage, trash or whatever, for a month. And I immediately followed that with a book haul, but then a video talking about Shorty September. So yeah, I am taking part in Shorty September this month. But that was what I did for the August videos. And I think it was a really interesting month for me on BookTube, and again made lots of new friends. And I don't know if I took part in any live streams. I did. I think yeah. That was an interesting one. I didn't even think about mentioning this, but I took part in a discussion live stream about 1984. That was really cool. So that was a kind of a group read, and we talked about 1984 in a live stream that was hosted by another bibliophile reads, Greg. So Greg likes doing a lot of live streams, and it's very cool because he's had me. It might be last month as well that I went on with Alan and Greg on one of their regular live streams as well. So shout out to them. Really appreciate them having me on. And the 1984 discussion was really good. So there we are. That's what's been happening channel-wise. So reading-wise, let's have a look. Just to start off with, I didn't finish this, but I have been reading this. Lost in Music, and I have enjoyed it, but I forgot about it. I forgot I was even reading it until I was trying to collect these books up together. So clearly, it's not pulling me in, but it's still enjoyable. It's just a guy talking about his experience with some of the bands and albums he likes. But you know, it's nicely written. I am enjoying it. I will finish it, but probably slowly. And then one other note about Garbaugust. I got this at the library for Garbaugust, and Garbaugust is finished. So I don't know if this is going back to the library. I don't know if I'll ever read it, but it's going back for now because it's quite bulky, and there's no point just keeping it forever. So Susie Quattro's autobiography called Unzipped is going back to the library. So there we are. I can't tell you what it's like because I didn't read it, but I got that out for Garbaugust. So what I did read, as I said, I love this book. Tomorrow. I really enjoyed it, and I spoke to a few other people that really enjoyed it, which is really cool. And some of the people that I met in London really enjoyed it. I know Alice from Alice and the Giant Bookshelf really enjoyed it, and it was really nice talking to her about that. It's just awesome, really awesome. So I have done a special video on it, so please watch that if you're interested. But that was the first book I read in August, and then I leap into Garbaugust. So I read a survivalist book, The Web, and for all the books I read for Garbaugust, did little shorts where I just quickly said what I thought, and it was all right. I know it was kind of what you'd expect, and I had to kind of not force myself, but make an effort to pick it up and read it, because it didn't draw me in, but it's fine. It was what it says on the tin, you know, explosions and stuff. Right, quick jumping in to add this one I'd forgotten. I'd read Cop Hater by Ed McBain, which is the first book I've ever read by Ed McBain, first 87 Precinct book I've ever read, and I really enjoyed it. The writing was really good, and I was compelled to find out what was happening by the end of it, and the ending's really good. There's like a really kind of thrilling last scene, if you like. So yeah, I'm definitely going to read more. So that was really good, and it's part of the men's adventure kind of prompt for Garbaugust, I thought. Anyway, carry on, Gareth. This one was the next one, The Travelling Vampire Show by Richard Lehman. And if you know Richard Lehman stuff, then you know what to expect. Women kept losing their clothes. The violence was ramped up to a big level by the end of it. The plot was quite nicely done, to be fair. I thought there was a few surprises in the plot. There's a lot of, it's relatively chunky. There was a lot of whiny kids in it, so I didn't really like the characters much. There's one character, what's her name? The character that was like the more mature Slim? I think her name was Slim. She was quite interesting. But yeah, the actual characters themselves didn't win me over. But the spectacle of the end, I think, won me over. And he goes to town on basically a big cat fight at the end. And it was like, all right. It was a bit ridiculous. But yeah, it's Richard Lehman, The Travelling Vampire Show. I wanted to read a Rich Lehman for the event, and it's actually part of the bingo card. And that title, The Travelling Vampire Show, just gets you, doesn't it? But yeah, it was an adventure. But talking about more paperbacks from hell, the second paperbacks from hell, I did read this, and this was great. So this is Stephen King's Carrie. So this is clearly more straightforward, and I think most people would consider Stephen King more respected than Richard Lehman. This man can write a story. This was his first book. I wasn't going to do a special video on it, but I am going to do another Stephen King video, follow up to one I did ages ago, which will talk about other books. But I was going to wait until I'd had another 10 books I wanted to talk about. But this was really good. And I think the monster in this book is her mother. So if you have read the book or you've seen the films, then you probably know what I mean. But yeah, she was horrid. Bleeding religion. Right, so this one. After I read Carrie, I read this. And this, another fantastic moment in my reading this year. Day Tripper by Fabio Moon and Gabriel Barr. So I like finding and I like liking graphic novels, but I kind of it's not something I collect to the point where I collect my cartoonist stuff and everything else. It's not like it doesn't dominate my collection, but I do have a penchant for graphic novels. What are you on about? So yeah. When it works, when I love them, and this is so good. What am I doing? Do I edit this out or do it again? No, you haven't got much. I haven't got a lot of opportunity now to do this in this room. So if I stop now, then you've got the thing happening over there, and you've got the other thing. It's not worth it. Let's just do this. Let's do this. So I read this, The London Mob, by Robert Shoemaker. That is ridiculous. Look, there's loads of things in between the letters. Robert Shoemaker, London Mob. I read this because this is the one book out of the ones that I was selecting I didn't really know very well. So I read this to see if I wanted to include it in my British history recommendations, and I did because I thought it was really good. So that was a little nod there to some of the things I reread as well, or had a look at again to kind of figure out what I wanted to include in that video. Then I read a Tom Baker book. Tom Baker, the Fourth Doctor. A lot of people's favourite Doctor. Sorry, David. And Tom Baker, The Boy Who Kicked Pigs. It wasn't great. It was quite interesting, quite a strange book, and you can tell that there's a lot of character in it in the author's voice. There's a lot of character in the author's voice, but the actual story itself was just a bit odd. And clearly it was trying to. It was odd by definition. It was trying to be a little bit idiosyncratic, which is fine, and a little bit out of the ordinary. But I really like the illustrations in the book, so they were really cool. So I said this when I did this little short about it, and I did like the illustrations. So yeah, that was an interesting find. Didn't even know it existed, and I had to include it in my Garbaugust celebrity penned books. And then I also read John Lennon's In His Own Right, A Spaniard in the Works. The very definition of a celebrity, one of the most famous people of all time. I was disappointed. So this used to be read to me by my uncle when I was a kid. When I was little, he used to read it to me and he used to laugh while he was doing it. He had to put on silly voices. I loved it when I was little. And it's a really important memory for me. I had a funny old childhood, and my uncle, I don't think he won't be watching this, but my uncle was a very important part of the good side of that, and I think he gave me my sense of humour, and it was a very important escape from the bad stuff. So big up to Uncle Ken, and this book means a lot from that point of view, I guess, really. But when I'm reading it this time, some of it was unreadable. Some of the illustrations were like, and it's the bits that were better were just good. So yeah, I love John Lennon, but he's a better songwriter. Death of the Planet of the Apes. Death of the Planet of the Apes. Andrew Gasker. This is really good. So I buddy read this with Michael K. Vaughan, and I really enjoyed it. It's an interesting tie-in because it kind of fills in gaps with the first two films. So there's lots of bits in italics that are like Taylor's Charlton Heston's character, Taylor's early experiences in the space program that leads up to when he goes on the mission with the other people that are in the ship at the beginning of the first film. But it's also got lots of other elements of mostly the second film, and there's some freaky bits in it, like the back talks about, it fills in the gaps when Taylor, the middle part of the film when Taylor's not in the film, and it does do that, and it talks about the mutants that are on the planet, and there's like telepathic brains in it, and it's all very trippy, some bits of it, but there's tons of characters, there's 4 plots going on, and it's really well written. You know exactly what's happening. You get it. The characterization's good. There's lots of Zira. So Zira is probably my favourite character out of the old films. Zira's awesome. And it's really nice that there's loads of her. And there's lots of sweet bits with Cornelius as well, especially towards the end. And the ending's really good. So yeah, it's a really good book. If you're into Planet of the Apes, you would enjoy this, I think. So that's Death of the Planet of the Apes. Shout out to Mike. We are going to do a special thing later connected to Planet of the Apes, which I'll tell you about another day. So then we're getting to the end of this now. So then I finished the third book in the deep dive for Ray Bradbury. This is a very popular book, and it should be, because it's really good. It's one of my favourite collections. It's a bit darker, which is why it's called The October Country. I mean, his stuff tends to be quite dark anyway, but this is definitely darker, and it's got stories like Skeleton. I don't know why I always call it Skeleton, and Jar, and the Scythe, and There Was an Old Woman, the Wonderful Death of Dudley Stone, The Watchful Poker Chip of Henry Matisse, and the Dwarf was in the other collection as well. But yeah, it's really good. I'm going to do a video especially on this because I need to reference Dark Carnival, because this is actually a collection of stories that were originally in Dark Carnival, which was his first collection of stories, with other stories that are not in this. So I want to see if I've got those other stories first, and then I'm going to do a special video on the October Country. But that's a great Ray Bradbury book that I would recommend. Okay, and then I'm finishing from the sublime to the ridiculous. So we start off with Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, and I'm going to finish off mentioning this book, and then another thing that I haven't finished that I started, and then that's my month done. So I'm going to, this is Garbaugust all over. So I'm going to finish this video with Claudia Winkleman. So I actually quite like Claudia Winkleman, and my family think it's funny that I think she's cool, and I'm pretty sure this was a joke present, but it's obviously ideal for Garbaugust, and it was witty. It was quite, you can hear her voice through like every page, every line. You can hear her talking. For Americans that might not know, she's a sort of a TV presenter, TV personality who does a lot of presenting. I think she started off in journalism first, but I think because of her quirkiness and the way she naturally talks on screen, she's got a lot of presenting jobs. And the most famous thing that she presents is the Strictly Come Dancing dance competition. So she's one of the main presenters of that. But yeah, she's really likable, I think, and this book is actually really likable as well. It's not a lot of it I relate to what she says, but it's said in a likable way. So Claudia Winkleman, everybody. So going from that to this is brilliant. And then one book that I haven't finished but I've started, and I will finish this in September, and it's really, really good, and that's Nana Kwame Adjei-Brenyah's Friday Black. So this is some short stories. This was brought to my attention by Willow from Books and Bow. Check out their channel, it's fantastic, and the amount of books I've got from their channel. But this is one that they talked about because they were going to talk about the Chain Gang All Stars book, which I've now got, which is the second book, and I wanted to read this first. And this is really good, interesting, compelling, brilliantly written political commentary about race done in quite a unique way. So yeah, really good. Friday Black, haven't finished it yet, but I'm really enjoying it. So that's where we are as we get into September. So September is going to be lots of short books. With June, maybe I'm going to try June, and if it's the right moment, I'll crack on and join everybody else. And if it's not the right moment, I'll pick another moment. So I think the thing with June is you can get such a different response to it if you read it at the wrong time or you read it at the right time, I think. So there we are. Thank you so much for the support of the channel. In the last month, the channel's gone up in subscribers and more people commenting and making new friends on here all the time, which is great. So I really, really appreciate it. And please comment below on anything you particularly like that you want me to do more of, or I'm kind of ultra aware now of being really close to the screen because of what someone said. So, hello to the guy that wanted me to be far back. Thanks a lot for watching. See you later. Bye.
Paint me a picture